Part 1. The paper they wanted me to sign. Celeste Cole placed the prenup on the mediation table, as if she were laying down a dead bird. "Sign the settlement, Vivian," she said, "or admit that you only married Adrian to steal the Hartwell shares." The room held 6 people and 3 cameras. The cameras were not for the internet. They were for the company board members watching from the glass conference room next door. Celeste had called them observers, but I knew what they were really there to see. They wanted to watch me lose my mother's company. Adrian sat beside his mother with his hands folded over his wedding ring. He had worn that ring for 3 years. Though the family had never called me his wife in public, to them, I was the outsider who had entered their home with a clever smile and a percentage of Hartwell Atelier attached to my name. Across from us, mediator Daniel Sue adjusted his glasses. "Mrs. Cole has submitted this copy as Exhibit A," he said. "It states that Ms. Hart is entitled to no marital or business interest, and that her shares transfer to Cole Holdings upon separation." The words should have shocked me. Instead, I stared at page 8. The paper was cream-colored. The signature looked like mine. The notary seal sat in the lower corner. But the embossed crescent was missing. In my first life, I noticed that detail after I signed. I noticed it after Adrian had walked out, after Celeste had announced the merger, after the board had voted to remove me from the company my mother built. By then, everyone had already decided I was an angry woman trying to rewrite a deal she had understood perfectly well. I had not understood the deal. I had understood the threat. Celeste had told me Adrian would be arrested if I refused. She had shown me photographs of him leaving a hotel with another woman. She had put my father's medical debt on the table. She had cried about the damage my stubbornness would do to both families. Then she had pushed the wrong prenup toward me. I signed because Adrian would not meet my eyes. 2 weeks later, Cole Holdings took control of Hartwell Atelier. My mother's designs were licensed to a company that had never paid her properly. The board called it a legal correction. Celeste called it the price of my greed. Adrian disappeared behind his mother's lawyers. When I finally found him, he was standing outside the old Hartwell showroom with a suitcase in his hand. "You signed," he said. "Your mother gave me a false copy. You had 3 lawyers, and you had a voice. You could have used it." He looked away. That was the moment I understood that he had not been trapped by his mother. He had simply found it easier to let her speak. I spent the next year trying to prove the prenup had been altered. The original registry file had vanished. The notary had retired. The courier company had deleted its delivery archive. The one employee who knew about the page substitution left the country after receiving a settlement from Cole Holdings. I found the missing proof 3 days before I died. It was a registry receipt inside my mother's old design portfolio, stamped with the same crescent that was missing from Celeste's copy. Before I could take it to a lawyer, my car lost control on a wet road. When I opened my eyes again, I was sitting at the mediation table. The same cream paper lay beneath Celeste's manicured hand. Daniel Sue was saying, "Ms. Hart, do you understand the settlement?" I looked at the clock. 10:17 a.m. In my first life, I signed at 10:21. 4 minutes before I surrendered my name, Adrian finally looked at me. He had once been the only person who knew how my mother taught me to draw a straight line. She would place a ruler across the page, then lift it before I finished, forcing me to trust the direction instead of the object. Adrian used to laugh when I complained. He said I had been born suspicious of anything that looked too neat. The Cole family had loved that suspicion when they needed Hartwell's audits. They had called me careful, intelligent, impossible to fool. The moment my caution threatened their control, the same words became difficult, paranoid, and ungrateful. That was how families like theirs stole a woman's name. They did not begin by calling her a thief. They began by asking her to prove she was not one. "Vivian," he whispered, Please don't make this uglier than it has to be. The old me would have begged him to remember our wedding, our apartment, the nights he had held my hand while I sketched my mother's last collection. The old me would have pointed at the missing Crescent and demanded that everyone believe me immediately. This time, I closed the folder. I understand the settlement, I said. Celeste smiled. Then sign. I picked up the pen and placed it beside the paper. File it first, I said. Her smile stopped moving. Daniel looked between us. Ms. Hart? I kept my eyes on Celeste. If that is the copy your family trusts, let the mediator file it as Exhibit A. Adrian shifted in his chair. Celeste's fingers tightened around the paper. She had expected me to fight the wrong document. She had not expected me to invite it into the record. The first time Celeste had brought me to this building, she had called it a courtesy meeting. She had told me the mediator was only there because the merger lawyers preferred a neutral room. She had ordered coffee for everyone except me and placed Adrian's phone face down beside her folder. I had spent 20 minutes explaining that I did not want a divorce. Celeste had spent 20 minutes explaining that my feelings were not part of the settlement. Adrian had spent 20 minutes watching the clock. This morning, the clock belonged to me. You are refusing to sign? She asked. I am refusing to sign a document you have not filed. Daniel reached for the folder. Celeste gave it to him. And as he stamped the first page, I watched the lie become evidence. Part 2. The wife they kept off the invitation. The mediation room had a second door that opened into the Hartwell board gallery. Celeste had chosen the room because every board member could watch through the glass without sitting at the table. She wanted the performance to feel private, while making sure the company saw every moment of my humiliation. I knew the arrangement because I had designed the gallery myself. My mother believed glass made powerful people less careless. She was wrong about that. People became more careless when they thought they were invisible. Daniel finished stamping Exhibit A. The document is received for review, he said. No finding has been made about authenticity. Authenticity is obvious, Celeste replied. My son and Vivian signed it before the marriage. I signed a different agreement, I said. Adrian turned toward me. You told me you didn't have another copy. I told you I had not found it. The difference mattered now. It had not mattered to him in my first life. Celeste slid a second folder toward Daniel. We also have the transfer schedule. Vivian received a controlling interest in Hartwell Atelier only because Adrian agreed to protect her from her family's debt. Once the marriage ends, those shares return to Cole Holdings. My mother's company had started as a 2-person design studio above a bakery by the time she died. It had become a luxury interiors group with contracts in 6 countries. She left me 51% through a trust because she knew my father would give the rest to whoever cried hardest at a dinner table. Celeste had never been interested in marrying me into the family. She had been interested in marrying Adrian to my shares. Mrs. Cole, Daniel said, please do not make conclusions about ownership before we review the exhibits. We are losing a merger window, Celeste snapped. Hartwell's investors need certainty. There it was. Not heartbreak, not family unity. The merger window. In my first life, Celeste had forced the board vote 48 hours after I signed. This time, she had arranged the same vote for Monday morning. Today was Friday. I looked through the glass. 5 board members sat in the gallery. Marissa Vale, Hartwell's interim CFO, was among them. In my first life, Marissa had testified that I knew exactly what I signed. She had lied because Cole Holdings promised to keep her position. This time, she was watching the wrong prenup enter the record. I hoped she understood what that meant. Daniel asked, Ms. Hart, do you have counsel present? Leah Moreno is waiting outside. Celeste laughed. Your lawyer is waiting outside because even she knows this is a simple settlement. She is waiting outside because your family removed her from the first meeting. I said, Adrian's eyes flickered. That detail was new to him. In the first life, Leah had arrived 10 minutes late after a security guard told her the mediation had been canceled. Celeste had used the delay to place the settlement in front of me while I was alone and frightened. This time, I had sent Leah the time, the room number, and one sentence before entering. Bring the registry key. Do not come in until I ask. Leah had been the first lawyer my mother trusted with a Hartwell contract. She wore plain black suits, carried a blue fountain pen, and never described a lie as a misunderstanding in my first life. I had let Celeste keep her outside because I was embarrassed that I needed protection from the man I loved. The shame had been useful to them. It kept me alone long enough to sign. Now Leah stood in the doorway with the black case, and the board gallery could see exactly who had been kept outside the first time. Celeste leaned closer. You are turning a private family matter into a spectacle. You invited the board. The board is here because your behavior threatens the company. Then the company should hear the whole agreement. Daniel lifted his hand. Both parties will speak through the mediation process. I nodded. Then I looked at Adrian. Did you know your mother filed a copy with page 8 changed? His jaw tightened. No. Did you know the copy transfers my shares to Cole Holdings? That is what the agreement says. That is what this copy says. Celeste touched his sleeve. Adrian, do not let her confuse you. She is trying to delay the inevitable. He did not move her hand away. That small choice used to hurt me. Now it simply gave me information. Daniel turned to the gallery. The board observers will receive no documents until the mediation team verifies them. Celeste stood. I am not allowing a disgruntled wife to hold Hartwell hostage with a missing piece of paper. I stayed seated. Then file the piece of the paper you brought. Daniel's stamp dried on the corner of Exhibit A. Celeste had wanted to own my silence. Instead, she had given me a timestamp, Part 3. Let them choose the wrong version. Leah entered when Daniel called her name. She carried a slim black case and did not look at Celeste. My lawyer had the calm expression of a woman who had already read the ending. Ms. Moreno, Daniel said, do you represent Ms. Hart in this mediation? Yes. I was retained 6 weeks ago to review the marriage agreement and the Hartwell trust schedule. Celeste's eyes sharpened. 6 weeks? Vivian was not planning a separation 6 weeks ago. I was planning to understand what I signed. I said, Leah placed the black case beside me but did not open it. Daniel asked for the chain of custody on Exhibit A. Celeste produced a courier receipt from Hartwell Legal. The receipt listed a delivery time of 8:42 a.m. and a sender named Owen Price. Owen had been the junior clerk at the notary office in my first life. He had also been the person who discovered the missing Crescent on the registry seal. He had tried to call me the night before my car crash. At the time, I thought his call was about a filing fee. I had ignored it because Celeste was crying in the next room, and Adrian was telling me that the family needed one decision from me, not another question. When I called Owen after waking up, he answered on the second ring. You found it, he said. You knew the copy was false. I knew the seal was wrong. I did not know who changed the page. Would you testify? There was a long pause. If the registry asks me in writing, yes. That was why I had sent Leah with the sealed case. Owen did not need to become a hero. He only needed a safe record before Celeste could buy his silence a second time. This time, I had called him first. Mr. Price is not a registered courier. Leah said, he is a filing clerk at the Linden Registry. The receipt does not identify the person who collected the packet. Celeste shrugged. That is administrative detail. Administrative details are the only reason a document can be trusted. Daniel replied. The board gallery grew still. Adrian glanced at his mother. She gave him a warning look, the one she used when she wanted him to remember who had paid his tuition. His debt. and the deposit on his first apartment. He looked down. I remembered that too. In our first life, I had mistaken his fear for conflict. It was not conflict, it was obedience. Celeste pushed a settlement summary toward me. "We are not here to debate a seal," she said. "Sign the summary and the merger proceeds. The Hartwell board will retain your name on the founder wall." The founder wall? The phrase was meant to sound merciful. My mother had taught me never to accept a framed photograph in exchange for control of the room. I picked up the summary. Leah's hand moved slightly, but I did not look at her. The summary stated that I acknowledged Exhibit A as the controlling agreement. It also contained a harmless-looking line confirming that both sides had supplied all known copies. That line was the trap I needed. "I will acknowledge receipt," I said. "I will not acknowledge control." Celeste smiled again. "You cannot rewrite a standard form." "I am not rewriting it. I am adding one sentence." Leah slid a pen toward me. I wrote beneath the signature line, "All exhibits are subject to verification against the original registry record and the source of delivery." The sentence looked harmless. That was why it worked. In my first life, I had signed a page that said, "I acknowledge the agreement." Celeste later told the board that my signature proved I had acknowledged every attached schedule as well. The distinction was buried in a footnote no one had shown me. This time, I wrote the distinction where everyone could see it. I was not accepting the story. I was accepting the existence of the story they had brought. Daniel read it twice. "That is acceptable for an acknowledgement of receipt," he said. Celeste's smile vanished. "No." Her answer came too fast. Daniel looked up. "Why not?" "Because the original registry is irrelevant to a private marital agreement." Leah opened the black case. Inside was a sealed envelope with a blue registry thread and a silver crescent pressed into the wax. Adrian stood halfway out of his chair. "Where did you get that?" "From the Linden Registry," I said. "The original agreement was placed in their custody 3 years ago." Celeste reached for it. Leah closed the case. "The seal is addressed to the mediator. It cannot be opened by either party." Daniel's expression changed. He was no longer looking at a couple arguing about a divorce. He was looking at a filing dispute with a board waiting behind the glass. Celeste turned to Adrian. "You told me she had no registry copy." Adrian stared at me. "I told you I had never seen one." "You told your mother what she wanted to hear," I said. The room went quiet. Celeste lifted the settlement summary and tore it in half. "This mediation is over." Daniel did not move. "You submitted an exhibit and asked for a ruling. You cannot end the process because another copy exists." I placed my signed acknowledgement on the table. "You wanted them to choose the wrong version," I said. "Let them finish choosing it." Part 4. The Crescent that was missing. The registry envelope was opened at 12:06 p.m. Daniel used a letter knife while Leah, Celeste, Adrian, and the board observers watched through the conference room feed. I sat beside Leah and kept both hands on the table. The original prenup was 9 pages. Page 8 carried the clause Celeste had removed. If either party submits a false copy of this agreement in a dispute involving Hartwell Atelier, voting rights remain with Vivian Hart until an independent trustee completes an authenticity review. The clause did not make me richer. It made me difficult to steal from. My mother had added it after a different family tried to acquire Hartwell with a forged valuation. She had told me that ownership was not a feeling. It was a chain of records, signatures, timestamps, and people willing to stand behind what they had seen. Never keep the only copy in a drawer. She had said, put one copy where the person who wants to steal it cannot reach. I had remembered the sentence only after she was gone. The registry was the place she meant. Daniel compared the embossed crescent on the original with the flat ink mark on Exhibit A. "This is not the same seal," he said. Celeste leaned forward. the notary may have changed seals. The agreement was registered 3 years ago. Leah said, the registry log lists the silver crescent. The notary's current seal is a square. Neither matches your exhibit. Adrian looked at his mother. You told me the copy came from the registry. Celeste's expression hardened. It came from Hartwell Legal. You said the registry sent it. I said it was verified. She was changing words now. I had heard that strategy before. Celeste never apologized for a lie. She edited its grammar until the listener felt foolish for remembering the first version. I pushed a second envelope across the table. That is not the only difference. Daniel opened it. Inside were copies of the page 8 metadata, the printer log from Hartwell Legal, and a delivery photograph from the building security system. The image showed Miles Cole leaving the records room at 7:58 a.m., carrying a red folder. The red folder mattered because Hartwell used that color only for documents that could change ownership. Blue folders were contracts. Green folders were vendor records. Red meant a trustee, a shareholder, or a dead founder had put a warning on the first page. Celeste knew that. She had chosen the color because she wanted the board to believe the packet was urgent. She had also chosen it because the archive camera faced the hallway and not the records room desk. She thought the image would show only a harmless employee carrying paper. It showed the exact minute the paper left the archive. Miles was Celeste's younger son and the person who had prepared the merger documents. In the first life, he had told the board that he had never touched my prenup. The printer log showed his employee code. The file name was not Vivian_Hart_prenup_final. It was Vivian_Hart_prenup_final_revised. The revision replaced the Hartwell Foundation beneficiary with Cole Holdings. It also removed the line about a false filing freezing the shares. That proves a file was printed. Celeste said, it does not prove who changed it. The access log does, Leah replied. She placed the log beside the photograph. Miles's code opened the archive at 7:41 a.m. He printed the revised file at 7:53. He left with the red folder 5 minutes later. Miles stood in the board gallery. I was following instructions. Celeste turned on him. Whose instructions? He looked at her, then at Adrian. In my first life. Miles left the country before anyone could ask him that question. This time, the board had locked the gallery doors. Adrian's voice was low. Mom, did you tell him to print it? Celeste did not answer. That silence was not an admission. It was a choice. Daniel removed his glasses. We are pausing the settlement request. The authenticity issue must be reported to the registry and the Hartwell trustees. Celeste slammed her palm on the table. You are allowing her to sabotage a company merger over a missing stamp. I looked at the original agreement. No, your family is sabotaging the merger by filing the wrong document. Adrian rose. Vivian, why didn't you tell me about the trustee clause? I met his eyes. Because the last time I told you the truth, you carried it to your mother before you carried it to me. He flinched. It was the first honest reaction I had seen from him all morning. Part 5. The message under the table. The board gallery emptied into the hallway. But the mediation did not end. Daniel ordered both families to remain while the registry verified the file history. Celeste called her outside counsel. Adrian called no one. Leah gave me a glass of water. You are shaking, she said. I am remembering. In my first life. This was the hour when I lost control. I had cried in the bathroom while Celeste told the board I was unstable. I had sent Adrian 27 messages. He had answered one. Stop making this harder. The same message arrived at 12:44 p.m. Not from Adrian. From Celeste's phone. She had sent it to him by mistake while trying to forward a different message. Adrian read it. His face changed. I did not ask what it said. He placed the phone on the table instead. The preview was visible. Once she signs, her shares move Monday. Keep her focused on the affair story. Do not let her ask about the registry. The sender was Miles. The recipient was Celeste. The timestamp was 7:32 a.m. That message explained the affair story too. In my first life, Celeste had shown the board a photograph of me outside the Alder Hotel with Leah. She had called Leah my lover and used the picture to make my refusal to sign look like revenge over a secret affair. The photograph had been taken because Leah and I met the Hartwell trustee there. We were carrying the first registry request. Celeste had not misunderstood the image. She had removed its context and sold the replacement. Daniel saw it. So did the board members watching through the feed. Celeste snatched for the phone, but Adrian picked it up first. "You told me there was no registry copy," he said. "I told you the company needed stability. You told me Vivian cheated. She was seen with a man outside a hotel. That man was her lawyer." Celeste looked at me. "You planted this." "I planted the opportunity for you to submit the document you trusted." She laughed sharply. "You expect them to believe you engineered a legal trap before you knew what I would file?" "I knew what you filed the first time." The words left my mouth before I could stop them. Adrian stared at me. The room felt suddenly smaller. I took a breath. I knew what you were going to file because you gave me the same copy at the private meeting last week. I recognized the missing seal." Leah's hand touched my wrist beneath the table. It was a warning, not a correction. I had almost told the truth no one could prove. Daniel turned to Celeste. "Did you direct Mr. Cole to prepare this copy?" "I directed him to prepare the merger packet." "Did you review page 8? "I reviewed the agreement." "The agreement or this copy?" Celeste looked toward the glass gallery. No one there looked back at her. Marissa Vale, the CFO who had lied for her in my first life, stepped into the room. "There is one more problem," Marissa said. Celeste turned. "You are not part of the mediation. The Hartwell board made me part of the financial review. The merger packet includes a transfer schedule based on Exhibit A. If Exhibit A is false, the merger valuation is false." Marissa placed a printed spreadsheet beside Daniel. Cole Holdings reported Vivian's shares as already transferred. The lender approved the bridge loan on that assumption. Leah looked at me. I nodded. The financial damage was bigger than my marriage. Celeste had not planned to take only my company. She had used my stolen shares as collateral for a loan she could not repay without the merger. The bridge loan was due in 30 days. If the merger closed, Cole Holdings would own Hartwell's design contracts and use the incoming payments to cover the debt. If the merger failed, the lender would seize the Cole family's private properties first, then come after the company they had claimed to own. That was why Celeste had rushed the mediation. She did not need me to be divorced. She needed me to sign before the lender noticed the shares were never hers. Adrian finally understood the scale of the lie. He had not been helping his mother end a difficult marriage. He had been sitting beside a loan secured by a woman he had allowed them to erase. Daniel folded his hands. "The board will receive the registry confirmation when it arrives. Until then, no settlement or transfer may be signed." Celeste whispered to Adrian, "If this merger fails, you lose everything." He looked at me. "You already made me lose the person who would have helped me," he said. It sounded like regret. Regret was not evidence. I kept my eyes on the original prenup. Part 6. The wrong prenup becomes the evidence. The registry confirmation arrived at 2:18 p.m. It was not dramatic. No police entered. No one shouted. A secure email appeared on Daniel's screen with 4 attachments and a verification code. The original prenup had been registered at 4:03 p.m. on the day of our civil ceremony. The file hash matched the sealed copy Leah had brought. Exhibit A did not. Daniel did not use the phrase forged document. He used the phrase Inconsistent source file. That was how professional rooms made a dangerous truth sound safe enough to repeat. Leah asked him to read the mismatch into the record. The registered file contains the trustee clause and the silver crescent. The submitted file contains neither. The submitted file also contains a beneficiary change that does not appear in the registry's version history. No one had to say what that meant. The page had not been corrected. It had been designed. The registry also confirmed that the silver crescent was the official mark used that year. The flat ink circle on Celeste's copy had never belonged to the Linden registry. Daniel looked at Celeste. The exhibit is not an authenticated copy. Celeste leaned back. Then treat it as an administrative mistake. It was submitted as the controlling agreement by a junior employee. Miles spoke from the doorway. You told me to print page 8. Celeste turned on him. I told you to prepare a clean copy. You told me to remove the trust clause because Vivian could not be allowed to see it. The room went quiet again. Miles was not brave. He was frightened. But fear had finally found a direction that did not point at me. Daniel asked, Did you alter the file? Miles looked at the floor. I changed the beneficiary line. Celeste approved the printout. Celeste's lawyer stood. My client is not admitting anything. The printer log, archive access record, security image, message, and registry mismatch already speak for her. Leah said, Adrian took off his wedding ring. He placed it beside the false prenup. I never saw this version, he said, but I told my mother Vivian would sign because I believed her. I looked at him. You believed the story that made you comfortable. His mouth tightened. I was afraid of her. You were afraid of losing the life she funded. He had no answer. Daniel read the real page 8 aloud for the board. If either party submits a false copy of this agreement in a dispute involving Hartwell Atelier, voting rights remain with Vivian Hart until an independent trustee completes an authenticity review. Then he read the next line. Any attempted transfer based on a false copy is void. Marissa opened the merger spreadsheet. The Hartwell shares remain with Vivian Hart. The bridge loan is now exposed as improperly secured. Celeste stood so quickly her chair struck the wall. You cannot destroy my family over a technicality. A technicality is a typo. I said, you changed the owner. Daniel ordered that Exhibit A be marked disputed and sent to the registry ethics office. He also directed the trustees to freeze the merger vote. The board gallery filled with voices. Celeste reached for Adrian. She tried one last explanation. She said the wrong page had been part of an internal draft, that Miles had printed it by accident, and that the merger team had simply used the wrong attachment. She said no one had intended to take my shares before the vote. Leah placed the Monday merger agenda on the table. The first item was not a discussion of the prenup. It was a vote to transfer Hartwell's controlling interest to Cole Holdings. The second item was a bridge loan drawdown. The third item was Celeste's appointment as permanent chair. 3 accidents, arranged in order. Daniel looked at the agenda, then at the false exhibit. Intent is not necessary for the registry to reject an unauthenticated transfer, he said. He stepped back. It was not a grand gesture. It was one step, but it was the first step he had taken without waiting for her permission. Vivian, he said, I am sorry. I know. Can we talk after this? We are talking now. You are apologizing because your mother was caught, not because you asked me what happened. He looked down at the ring. I slid the real prenup back into Leah's case. The wrong document had done exactly what I needed. It had shown the board who had filed it, who had benefited from it, and who had believed it without reading it. Part 7. The agreement I kept. The merger vote was canceled before sunset. By Monday morning, the Hartwell trustees had frozen Cole Holdings' claim and appointed an independent review team. The lender demanded its bridge loan back. Marissa kept her job because she gave the board the spreadsheet before Celeste could edit it. Miles resigned. He sent me a statement admitting that he had printed the revised page under Celeste's instruction. It did not erase what he had done, but it stopped him from pretending the printer had acted alone. The statement also returned 3 boxes from the Cole archive. Inside were copies of Hartwell designs that had been scheduled for the merger catalog, each labeled with a Cole Holdings inventory number instead of my mother's studio mark. I gave them to the trustees. Then I gave the trustees a new rule. No Hartwell design could be licensed, moved, renamed, or pledged without 2 signatures and a registry entry visible to the entire board. It slowed the company for a month. It saved it for a generation. Celeste lost her board seat and the right to enter the Hartwell archive without a trustee present. Adrian's family called it a misunderstanding. I called it a filing. The difference mattered. 3 days after mediation, Adrian came to the Hartwell showroom with the ring in a small black box. The showroom still smelled like sawdust and bergamot. My mother had chosen the scent because she said beautiful rooms should remember that someone had built them. Adrian stood beneath her portrait. "I want to explain," he said. "You can explain. I am not promising to forgive you." He nodded. He told me he had known Celeste planned to ask for a separation. He told me he believed the shares would return to Hartwell's original trust. He told me he had not read page 8 because he trusted his mother and because trusting her meant he did not have to fight her. Every sentence was honest. None of them changed the past. "Do you still love me?" he asked. I looked at the ring box. Love is not the same as permission. His face fell. "I am not asking you to return to the old marriage. There was no marriage in the old arrangement. There was a table where your mother spoke and you let her." He closed the ring box. "What do you want?" "My company, my mother's designs, my name on every document that carries it." "And me?" "I want you to understand that losing access to me is not a punishment. It is the natural result of making me unsafe." He left the ring on the table. I did not touch it. Instead, I walked to the archive and placed the real prenup inside a new fireproof drawer. The silver crescent caught the light when I closed it. The first time I saw that seal, I thought it was proof that a paper could protect a person. Now I understood better. A document could not protect me from a family determined to lie. It could only make the lie expensive. Celeste had believed the wrong prenup would rewrite my life. She had forgotten that every false version leaves a trail behind it. The printer remembered. The registry remembered. The camera remembered. And so did I. I kept the agreement with the silver crescent. I kept my mother's company. I kept my name. On the first Monday after the review, I stood in the Hartwell lobby while the founder wall was changed. The old brass plate had said, "Hartwell Atelier, a Cole Holdings partner." The new plate carried only my mother's name and the year she opened the first studio. No husband, no family branch, no borrowed ownership. Just the name she had built and the name she had left me. The marriage ended at the mediation table. The woman who had entered it hoping to be believed never left. She left as the owner,